All right, let's keep on working on creating the medieval fantastic village for all types of video games within Unity, whether it's for role-playing games, for arena battlegrounds, just like I'm doing, or MMOs or FPS games. This is how we do it. Let me share my screen. All right, let's do this. And by the way, feel free to ask questions if you have any. Now's the time. And again, if you want to keep following, go to appsfresh.com and locate the Medieval Fantastic package. It's absolutely free to use. If you want the Pro, there's also the Pro, but there's the free one as well. All right. So what we have so far, if we take a look at it, let me put the camera a bit down so that we can see better what we have. So we have a house that we created, and earlier we created um, a whole road. So I'm going to click on the village so that you guys can see the road. I'm going to put it at 0, and as you can see, we have the whole road. Now we're not using that right now because we're still building the house. So I'm going to keep building the house and build multiple houses, and we're going to use them inside of the village. So selecting the home small, let's go to the scene, and this is what we have so far. We have just a piece of the home small. Now this is missing obviously some pieces of it, so it's up to you at this point. You can add the missing walls, or you can just leave it alone because in the game you don't even see it. But that's up to you. What I'm going to do next is actually duplicate the walls so that we have all the walls. So I'm going to take the wall 1 and 2, the big ones, and press Command D or Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to move them to the other side. Here we go. And as you can see, in no time, I have the walls to the other side. Now let's repeat this process for the front. Now I only want one door, but if we want both doors, we can definitely do it too. So let's add 2 doors actually. So I'm going to duplicate the same ones, but before I do so, let's add a door. How do you add a door? Well, let's go to the village folder and locate the doors. Now the doors will be probably inside of not the windows, but let's go and take a look at others. Yes, the door wood is right here in others. So I'm going to drag and drop this inside of the home small, and I see the door right there. So I just have to move it, and I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis by 90 degrees. All right, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to move the door so that it goes where the front entrance is. Here we go, almost there. Now I need to move it around so that I can see what I have. Move this up. All right, and put it at the center. Here we go. And now we easily have a very nice door. The next step now that we have the door is also to duplicate this part to put it to the other side. So I'm going to select let's make sure the door is inside of the home. I'm going to select that door and the other pieces of walls and duplicate. Command D to duplicate and move it to the other side. I just slide it to the other side. Here we go. As you can see, we have it right there. And in no time, we have a perfect home. Now, something that would be great to have on the home, obviously, is to have windows. So let's add windows. Well, pretty straightforward. How do you add windows? Well, you just select the prefab, the windows, and add it. So I'm going to go inside of the Windows folder and drag and drop a squared window. Now, feel free to add your own windows. We have also circle windows, so it's up to you at this point. Let's put it at 0, 0, 0, and move it. Now, put the window exactly where you want. It's up to you. I'm going to put it a bit up next to the front entrance, somewhere around here. That will do. And I'm going to add some flowers on that window. Now, let's duplicate that so that we have 2 windows. Command D to duplicate. And here we go. We have 2 windows. All right. And now the next step is to add to these windows, I'm going to add some flowers. So I'm going to go inside of the others folder, locate the pot of flower, and add it to the window, and move it to 0, 0, 0. Here we go. And position it a bit more down and in the front. And I'm going to duplicate that. And here we go. We have a nice home with windows. So if we go to the game, we can actually see that it looks really good. Let's duplicate these windows so that we have even more of them. Well, it's actually, one super easy way is to make a prefab out of this. And that's what I'm about to do so that you guys can see how to make a quick prefab. I need to select the pots, and the 2 flower pots are inside of the window. So that's good. And what I want to do is create an empty object and add this inside of it. So inside of what I'm going to do this is add this to the wall or not. That's up to you at this point. So let's create something that's actually independent from the wall so that we could use it for different walls. So I'm going to select the 2 pots here, the window wood square and the other window wood square. And I'm going to duplicate that, Command D. And now that it's duplicated, I need to add this and create a new object out of this. So I'm going to do create empty. And now I'm going to move these inside of the empty game object. Here we go. And move that game object outside of it. So I'm going to take the game object. Hold on, let me just move that here. All right, so let's take a look at the game object. Let's take the extra window and move that. So I'm going to take the game object and move it outside of the home. Here we go. And let's move it around so that we can easily see it. So I'm going to put it at 0, 0, 0. And if I just go to the scene and double click on it, we see that we have the window here. Now we're missing one duplicate of the window square, but that's not a problem. We can easily duplicate that by just taking the window wood square, Command D to duplicate, and let's move it. All right. So now that we have them, we can rename this game object to windows with flowers. And once we do that, let's add this to our folder where we have the prefabs. So we already have a village prefab where we put all our stuff. So if you look at them, we have the prefabs village here. So drag and drop the windows with flowers. All right. Once it's done, we can reuse that anytime. So I'm going to remove these and show you how to reuse them. Well, pretty straightforward. Now you can drag and drop the windows prefab inside of the home small. Here we go. And I'm going to move them around by rotating around the y-axis to -90. Actually, that will be -180. Right, and let's attach them to the wall. So I'm going to move them to the wall of the house. Here we go. And let's move it at the center. All right. And as you can see, we have new windows done in no time. Okay. Now we could add some in the back, but it's up to you at this point. I'm just going to leave it that way. That will be more than enough. So if you go to the game, you can actually see this, and it really looks good. So we're doing amazing here. All right. So now the next step is to take this house and duplicate it. So I'm going to take the home small and make a prefab out of this. I just drag and drop it inside of my prefabs village folder. And now I have an amazing prefab of a home. Isn't that beautiful, guys? All right. Now, how are we going to make another home out of this? Well, we can take the prefab of the home small, add it, and we can even change the roof so that we're going to make a different type of roof. Now, I'm going to select the roof and look at the objects inside of it and remove them. I just right-click and delete them. And now, this is, we're going to lose the prefab. Say yes, continue. All right. And I'm going to say home small red. Why red? Because I'm going to add a red roof. So now I can drag and drop this inside of my prefab folder to create a new prefab. All right, and here it is. Now it doesn't have a roof. That's okay. Let's add a roof. I'm going inside of the village, and I'm going to select items for the roof. So selecting the roof, and I'm going to add the red ones with let's go with a different type of bricks. I'm going to go with we could go with white bricks, but it might not look good. So I'm going to go with the red ones. So I'm going to select this roof wood and put it inside of the roof of the new one, and put it at position 0, 0, 0. Right. So now if I go to the scene, I don't see much, but I can take the home small and start moving it, and look at this. Now we have another home. All right. And let's see where the roof is. I can double click and see that the roof is below, so I can move it up. Here we go. And in no time, we're about to create a new roof. Okay, so move this to the front and move it up. Moving it up. Okay, and let's duplicate that. Command D to duplicate. And don't forget to mirror this on the Z-axis, -1, and then move it. All right. And as you can see, we're creating the house in no time. Now let's duplicate this piece, these two pieces, Command D, and let's rotate it by 90 degrees on the Y-axis. And actually that's 180 degrees for a perfect rotation. Here we go. And let's move it. Actually, it did work, but what we have to do now is make sure that the right side goes on the left and the left side goes on the right. Almost there. Right, let's zoom in. Almost there. Now I just need to move it a little bit. Selecting both of them and moving it to where the other part of the roof is. All right, and that will do. It's not perfect, but it's almost perfect. So let's see what we have so far. Yep, we have a pretty nice red home. All right. So what I'm going to do next is save this home, small red, by just clicking on it and clicking on apply. And as soon as I click on apply, guess what? If I go inside of my prefabs village, I see two homes now. I see the yellow one with the yellow roof and the red with the red roof. All right. And now feel free to just duplicate them, and in no time we can create a whole village. So what I'm going to do is add them to the village, but before I want to do so, let's bring back the village to its original position of 0, 0, 0. And now let's move the houses. So I'm going to take the home small red and put it in the village, and take the home small normal and put it inside of the village as well. Here we go. And let's move them. So I'm going to take the home small and move its X position. But as you can see, we don't have the window inside of it. So let's move the window inside of it. The windows with flowers, move them inside. Here we go. And let's apply this to the prefab. All right. So now we can actually move it. I can move the home small and the window will move with it. So I'm going to move the X-axis. All right. Let's go to the scene so that we can see it better. All right. So somewhat around here, that will do. Now, let's do the same for the other house, the red one. Home small red. And let's actually rotate it by 90 degrees on the Y-axis. Why? So that I can actually move it right there. So that we'll have another house here. All right, that actually looks really good. Here we go. Let's have some grass in front of it. How do we do that? Well, let's move it a little bit this way. Okay, so we get some grass. Now let's move it to the center, so actually we can add probably a fence to that. Cool. All right, so now if we go to the game, we don't see much. That's totally normal because we need to move the camera. So I'm going to select the camera and move the camera around. Here we go. All right, that looks really good. Let's move the Z now. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to move the house a bit in the front so that we can see it even better. So the red house, because at the end of the day, we want to see how things look, right? We want a really good interpretation of this. Now, what we could do is change the size so that we can have a better angle of it. Okay, so as you can see, I increase the size. Now it looks really good. Cool. All right, the next step now is to add some fences to that. So let's go ahead and create fences. Well, how do you create fences? Pretty straightforward. We're going inside of the village folder, and inside of the village folder, you can locate the fences folder. And here we're going to add fences. We can add some brick ones. We are made out of stone, or some that are made out of wood. So I'm going to pick the wood ones and also add a gate. First, let's add the gate. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to create this inside of a prefab. So I'm going to right click, create empty. And I'm going to call this one fence. There you go. And now I need to put this at the position 0, 0, 0. And inside of it, I'm going to add the fence gates. So the right side and the left side. Now that I have both the left side and the right side, let's put them at position 0, 0, 0, and let's move them around. You see, it's pretty straightforward. Here we go. So if I go to the scene and I double click on it, I will see where it is. We don't see much because I need to put it up. No problem, easy. Here we go. So that would be the fence. All right, so now that I have the fence, I need to move the gate around. Here we go. So we have the left side and the right side. Excellent. And now what we're going to add to the gate is obviously the sides of the gate. So I'm going to take the fence and even the broken ones to add to it. So again, put it at position 0, 0, 0. Why? So that you can easily move it after. Okay, so I add the broken ones. And I'm going to add the regular ones as well. Here we go. So now let's put them at position 0, 0, 0. All right, and now we can start moving them. So the fence wood, let's move it. Let's put it up. And we want it to be next to the gate. So let's move it up a little bit and move it where the gate is. Okay, so somewhere around here, that will do. Let's zoom in. Let's connect it. All right, here we go. Looks pretty good, guys. Maybe let's move it a little bit down. Here we go. All right, now let's take the broken one and let's move it next to it as well. Just basically moving it around. You can see this one is broken, but that's okay. It makes the game more, looks more real, you know, in the sense that the fact that nothing is just perfect. Some stuff are always broken. And that's the effect that we're going with here. Here we go. Let's actually rotate it by 90 degrees on the y-axis, 190 degrees, 180, so that it follows the other one as well. Perfect. And now let's locate the next one, which is the other broken one that we don't see right now. Let's move it around. Here it is. As you can see, it's like really far. So let's move it at 0. Right, and let's move it up. Okay. Almost there. Now, it's a lot of tweaking, you know, in the sense that I could do a better job, but since I'm doing this live, I'm not going to spend too much time on moving things around because I don't want to waste your time, right? So I'm doing things as quickly as possible so that it still looks okay without wasting your time. All right, so now I'm going to duplicate some of them. So let's say the fence wood, duplicate and move. Here we go. All right. And then what we can do now is already move this. Let's add a corner to this. So how do you add a corner? Well, you take the fence wood, you duplicate it, and you rotate it by 90 degrees on the y-axis, and then you just have to move it around. So let's move it around. Is this one? Yep. Almost there. Needs to connect. Here we go. Let's duplicate that again. And one more time. Okay, and now I'm going to take the 3 last ones and duplicate them all. Command D, rotate it by 90 degrees. So that would be 270. All right, and move it to the other side. Here we go. Now that I have the fence, I'm going to take the whole fence and make sure that they all are inside of the fence. So I'm going to drag and drop all of them and put it inside of the fence. Here we go. And now I can move the fence. All right, and as you can see, in no time, I'm going to have a house with a fence. Isn't that beautiful? Let's move the fence so that it looks centered. So move it on the Z-axis. Here we go. And on the X as well. All right, so now we have a nice house with a fence. I could make the fence bigger, but what I'm going to do is make a prefab out of this. So I'm going to click on the prefabs village and drag and drop the fence here. Now feel free to modify the fences and create more fences. It's up to you at this point. All right. And now that's pretty much how we're going to do, and we can add more fences around and more flowers and more trees, and that can easily be done. We can just select any of these trees here and duplicate it. So the cherry tree, Command D, or take some trees that we already have and just move them around to add to it and make it more, make it prettier. All right, we can even take a short tree and duplicate it. Almost there. I put it inside of the village and put it at 0, 0, 0. And here it is, and I can move that bush around. Here we go. And if you look in the game, in no time, we're making something that looks really good. All right, so feel free now at your turn, to keep adding things. I'm going to add more stuff myself. Like you can add things that we don't have, like beams or even balconies. You can also add bridges. A nice bridge would be nice. And actually, that's something I'm going to do very soon. Add more fences or more to the floor. And I'm going to do that as well. You can also add different trees. You can also add different windows if you want. It's up to you at this point, but this is already a good basis. Now, remember, you can easily duplicate the houses. So feel free to do this. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to duplicate the red house so that it looks more like there's more things happening. And I'm going to keep going. So at this point, you guys can stop and create your own or keep watching me. All right. Having said so, I'm going to take the home small red, Command D to duplicate. And I'm going to rotate it by 90 degrees and move it. Go to the scene. And I'm going to move it right next to the other house. Here we go. If I go to the game now, we see a second one that looks really good. We're going to add a bridge. So I'm going to go inside of the bridges and add a wood bridge, because a wood bridge looks pretty good. I'm going to go with this bridge right here. So I'm going to drag and drop inside of the village and click on it to see where it is. Bring wood. All right. And I'm going to move it. Well, let's put it inside of the village because it's not. Here we go. And let's move it around. Okay, let's see where it is. Here it is. I see the bridge, you guys see it. Let me zoom in so that it's easier to see. And just, moving it around. Here we go. Now it's touching the water, so I'm going to make it, to put it up a little bit so that it's not completely touching the water. Here we go. Let's move it and let's duplicate it. But let's see if it's at the right spot. Yes, it's pretty good spot. So I'm going to duplicate this, Command D. Command D to duplicate and move it. Click on the scene. Let's move it to the other side. All right, and in no time, I have a pretty nice bridge. Here we go. So let's see in the game. All right, it looks pretty good. I would want to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm going to select the bridge and increase the scale to 1.1. Okay, so now let's move it back so that it's still above and that we can see it. Excellent. All right. Now, my next step would be to add rocks around that. So I'm going to select the rock and duplicate it. Inside of the scene, you'll see that we have some rocks because usually there's always rocks around. So I'm going to take that rock, Command D to duplicate, and move it next to the bridge. Not a problem, easily done. All right, duplicate it again, but this time I'm going to rotate it and make it smaller. So easily done, rotate. Okay, multiple directions, that will do, and make it smaller, 0.6. All right, and duplicate it again and move it next to it. So Command D to duplicate, and let's move it. And let's make it of 1, 1, 1. All right, and rotate it. Very cool. So in no time, I'm creating a new type of rock. Here we go, and let's move it. Cool, very cool. So now if we go to the game, we can actually see that it really looks amazing now. Very cool. So at this point, feel free to add more stuff yourself. What I want to do now is add to the floor. So I'm going to go and click on the floors and add some slabs. So that's basically, like to make it look a little bit better. So I'm going to select the village and add the slabs to the village. Drag and drop that. Here we go. And now I'm going to click on it to see where it is inside of the scene. Here it is. So I need to move it up and move it to where I want it to be. So let's put it at 0, 0, 0 for now. Okay, here they are. And I'm going to move this so that we can see it. Let's put some around here. I'm going to put, usually this should be where the houses are. Why? Because houses are the ones that have slabs so that people can start walking, right? So let's put it next to the house.